number 17. And on the right-hand side, we added water. Obviously, you know, it brings character, strategy to the hole. But as well as that, it forces your eye over as an aesthetic point of view to the next hole, which is number 8. And over on number 8, we installed a waste bunker on the left-hand side, primarily to protect the ball from rolling into the large lake. And then we added some amenities, tall ornamental grasses, driftwood, and then some large stacked rocks sporadically placed throughout the waste bunker.
All right, now we're going to get our back against the sun here, and so we can show you this beautiful scenery, because you've got Mother Nature right behind you, kind of caressing you and cradling you through 18 holes of incredible golf. And it's amazing, you've got a major highway just a few miles from here, Route 376. You've got the great community of Aliquippa and Hopewell and Center Township just miles away, and obviously the Beaver Valley Mall. You've got Coons Market in Hopewell. You've got great eateries, JW Halls. There's so many things literally just minutes from this course. You have got, at that expressway exit of Monaca, right now 5 hotels and more going up as we speak. So this is something that you may even want to, if you're watching this from really far away, you may want to get yourself a hotel room and spend a couple of days and play this course, because it won't play the same each and every time. And as I mentioned, there's a lot to do here. Plus you've got Jimmy Mag's Restaurant and Art Manji, definitely worth getting dinner or lunch. So I think for those of you golfers out there who are looking for something a little bit different, you may want to look to this. And remember now, you can always go to AAA East Central. Those good folks who I've known for a long time, they have an office in Rochester, and they can kind of give you all the details that you need and map out a great strategy and get you some hotel reservations and get you here. And if you need transportation, they can do that as well too. Okay, now let's talk about this incredible event. One of my favorite events of all the Grand Slams. I mean, there's a lot to be said about the Masters, and obviously Bobby Jones and Augusta, and the U.S. Open, which is ours, and the PGA coming up. But this Open Championship, if it wasn't for Arnold Palmer, who actually won here at Royal Birkdale, the British Open, then now the Open Championship, wouldn't have the headlines that it has today. Listen, you've been around great golfers, and I love the game today. And I'm not sounding like my age, because I'm still pretty hip and plugged into what's happening today with these millennials. And I look at these great golfers like a John Rahm or a Dustin Johnson or a Jordan Spieth, Jason Day. Do you think that they have the same friendships that Player and Trevino and Nicholas and Arnie had back then? How they not only played golf together, but they also socialized together. Do you see that today? And if that's not the case, that's kind of sad, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. I think that you don't see it quite as much as you did in the past. I mean, after a major event such as the Open that's coming up, I mean, Gary Player would have Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer and their families over on his estate in South Africa for weeks at a time.
Relaxing.
You know, amazing. Now, you know, I mean, you do have some of the younger players, Dustin Johnson, you know, Jason Day. Those guys are pretty close. There's a group of those guys that are around the same age. So you might see a little bit of that coming back. I think the last 20 years, that part of the camaraderie kind of hit a low point, and maybe now it's going back up.
Well, in defense of these young golfers, and I really respect their game and I love watching what they do, but the prize money is so much more incredible. The strain is a whole lot different now because of sponsorships and appearances and public relations and what you have to do, and you have so many people that are working with you, and especially if you become successful, and if you're like the world's #1, when you miss a couple of cuts like Dustin Johnson has, that's big news. It has changed, and I think dealing with the pressure, I'm sure, is a lot more overwhelming than a lot of us can think. What it must be like is incredible, but one thing I do know, I still think the game needs someone like a Tiger Woods again, and thank goodness that Phil Mickelson, part of that leftover era. And when Tiger was playing, close friends with guys like Mark O'Meara.
That's right.
They lived together in Orlando, Florida.
That's right.
So we just need more of that, but believe me, for those of us who love golf, we respect and understand that these young golfers are definitely going through a lot today. Okay, the favorites, Dustin Johnson, Jordan Spieth, Ricky Fowler. The other favorites, Jon Rahm, Sergio Garcia, Justin Rose, Rory McIlroy, Hideki Matsuyama, I keep thinking about his game, Tommy Fleetwood. You've also got Henrik Stenson, who's going to be paired in the first day with Jordan Spieth. Adam Scott, Brooks Koepka, who's a power hitter, Jason Day, Paul Casey. And yes, speaking of a guy who can hit the golf ball, that loudmouth wardrobe that he's famous for, 84 Lumber for many years, my good friend Joe Hardy. John Daly, who really made his name at the Open Championship, he'll be there too as well. All right, now, I'm going to kind of go over some golfers, my list of top 10, and you just give me some of your thoughts. Elwood Willard. Rory McIlroy, I know he's been suffering from some injuries, had a bit of a tough time of late on the course, coming off the Scottish Open and others. What about Rory McIlroy? He's as good as any favorite, but even though he has had some tough times of late, but you can't count him out. Former Open Championship winner 2014, and he finished last year tied for 5th. So in a way, as bad as it's been, you got to believe he's ready to break through.
Absolutely. Make no mistake about this. Rory McIlroy is the most talented golfer on the planet. There's no doubt about it. And all the other players will tell you when he's on his game and he's healthy, no one's going to touch him. So it is coming down to a matter of health.
All right, Dustin Johnson, how do you bet against a player that was dominating early in the year? Well, when he missed 2 straight cuts, but he has had some success across the pond. Johnson has 5 top 15s at the Open Championship. If he returns to his spring form, then he could run away with this. But the big question, is he ready and will he return?
Right. I think Dustin Johnson's biggest opponent is himself. I really do. I think I felt like, with the major win that he accomplished, the sky was the limit. And I still think he can go on a run. I really do.
Sergio Garcia, before his Masters win in April, many thought if Sergio Garcia broke through for his first majors, it would be at the British Open. He has had 10 top 10s in the event, including 3 in the last 3 years. With the first major weight lifted off of his shoulders, he could make a run at his second major, and it could happen this week.
I'm actually picking him to win. So
you heard it here first.
Obviously because of
he just plays well on these type of courses.
That's right. I mean, his experience here, and then with the confidence that he has now, he's going to be tough to beat.
All right, Jordan Spieth, the kid from Texas, we're always rooting for him. He's a threat at every major he enters. He won the recent Travelers Championship and does have a top 10 at the British Open. That was back in 2015. Has he found his putter yet?
Well, I think so. I liken him to a young Tom Watson. And let's not forget, Tom Watson won a number of Opens.
Yeah, he dominated.
He dominated. And Jordan has that type of talent. And if he can get that going, look out.
This is a guy, for some reason, he's just been so steady, and he's only 25, but it seems like I've been talking about him forever. Hideki Matsuyama, this young Japanese player, is destined to win a major. He's the world's number 2 ranked player coming off of a second-place finish at the U.S. Open. Hideki Matsuyama.
Yeah, I said this earlier previously, that Hideki is going to be one of the greats of this generation, and he is going to be a multiple major winner.
Phil Mickelson. There was a time Phil Mickelson really contended at the British Open. In the last 6 years, Mickelson has a win and 2 runner-ups. That includes last year's runner-up when Mickelson and Henrik Stenson lapped the field. No other major gives the over 40 golfer a better chance to win a major, and Mickelson is the most capable of that group. I agree.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. I think that Phil, he keeps himself in great physical condition. He really does. And with the confidence and, mentally, he's as tough as anybody out there. He really is.
All right, Ricky Fowler is eventually going to win a major. It's got to happen. He contended at the U.S. Open, and in his next PGA event, Quicken Loans National, tied for 3rd. He just went tied for 9th at the Scottish Open, too. He's playing very well, and he just needs one, and I think it could be the beginning of something great for him in major events, Ricky Fowler.
Yes, and I'm picking him as a runner-up in this event. I really am. I think that he if you look at the last few months, his tournaments, he is gaining momentum. He really is.
Tommy Fleetwood, he's one of the trendy Open Championship picks. Tommy Fleetwood, coming off a 4th place in the U.S. Open, looks ready to make a run at this year's major. He was born and bred in England and on links golf courses too. If the wind blows, his chances increase because he should be well acquainted with the kind of bad weather, and sometimes that just happens to show up at an Open Championship.
Well said. I mean, that's what it really comes down to. Adverse conditions, all of a sudden he becomes one of the favorites.
I just like this guy, especially when you're playing overseas. Justin Rose burst onto the golf scene in 1998, tied fourth at the Royal Birkdale, the same course they're teeing off from Thursday. He's an Englishman and a popular winner, to say the least, and through the Masters this year he was red hot. He cooled off since, so why hasn't he contended more often at the Open Championship? It's a bit of a mystery, but going back to where his career basically began could jumpstart everything for him. And when you're playing in Britain and you're playing anywhere on a links golf course in this world, he has to be one of your favorites.
Absolutely. I mean, that's been his strength way back. And with his newfound success in the United States, that just gives him confidence that, you can't count him out.
All right, Matt Kuchar. If you need a dark horse, a veteran pick, it might be Matt Kuchar. Kuchar has never won a major, but he has had 8 top 10s in those events. I like players that play the Scottish Open. That's yours truly, and the Irish Open, and I really think that helps them leading into this. He had a good week. He tied for 4th there and hasn't finished outside the top 20 in a PGA event since mid-May. Got a healthy bank account and a healthy golf game right now.
And he's one of the most popular players over here in the United States, but he's also very popular over in Europe, and he gets rolling. Look out.
So how important is it to have a good opening round? Because if you don't, it's almost impossible to play catch up.
That's right. That's right. I mean, it's almost as if you're not gonna run away with it in the opening round, other than a few years ago Rory did. But other than that, you just build momentum. You stay in the hunt. And that's what it really comes down to. It's about really grinding. I remember when the Shark, Greg Norman, won it a number of years ago. And when he finally broke through on his first major, and it was at the Open, and he said it was all about grinding. And I think that's what's going to happen here.
Listen, we're going to go have an Arnold Palmer half and half iced tea, because it's still rather warm out here, but it's beautiful at the club at Shadow Lakes. Tomorrow night, Casa de Emmanuel, Bob Ford, he's at Seminole now, longtime director of golf at Oakmont, will be joining us on the Comcast Sports Line to preview it. Wednesday night, Legacy Studios, my guest, Dr. Terry Madonna, talking politics, but he's also a huge golf fan, taught presidential politics for years. We've talked many times about the presidents who actually had game playing golf, but we'll be talking about the Open Championship with him. And then Jim Equals of the Beaver Allegheny County Times will be at the New Brighton Hot Dog Shop in New Brighton Thursday, breaking it down, and we'll also have results on round 1. But here's the thing. The only thing, if you have a bad couple of rounds, but if you can hit the golf ball like Tiger used to, you still have a chance. We saw him many times. He never really would have a good first round just about at any tournament he played. But man, when he'd put the red and black on heading into that final tee time on that 4th round day, and if he was anywhere near the lead, he usually ended up winning it, because he had such a powerful driver, and that always benefited him, because the weather seems to get bad as the tournament, the Open Championship, progresses. So if anybody can have a bad round and still win this thing, it's someone that can really hit the golf ball, right?
That's right. And again, I think you get back to somebody like Dustin Johnson.
Yeah.
And it's, the thing that made Tiger unique, obviously his physical skills, his mental toughness, but he actually intimidated the rest of the field. And when he was on a charge, and if he was just a couple strokes back on that final round, everyone else, it was in their head already. They already were playing for second place. And I think that, we're waiting to see who's going to step up and create that kind of intimidation. I don't know if anyone can, but it would great to see it again.
Listen, if you need help with your game, we're smack dab in the middle of 2 bookends. We got Dick's Sporting Goods of the Beaver Valley Mall, and Ed Stack and Company, of course. He's the man behind Dick's Sporting Goods and Golf Galaxy up in Robinson Township. But they're all throughout western Pennsylvania, and for that matter, the country. So it's never too late to get into the great game that is golf, and you can let Golf Galaxy help your game go out of this world. And Dick's Sporting Goods, of course, which has been a brand in this part of the world for a long time. Their corporate headquarters in Robinson Township. They're always looking to help anybody with every club in the bag. And now for Elwood Willard, I'm Rob Pratt. Until tomorrow night at Casa de Emmanuel, talking golf with Bob Ford. Hit it straight, and good night, and enjoy the Open Championship beginning Thursday morning at 1:30 a.m. on the Golf Channel. Good night.